wonder how many podcasts ever make it to episode 20. We just have to trust God for the outcomes a lot of times. That's wild, bro.
Yeah, for sure.
To have people come after you so violently because you oppose, or what you stand for opposes what they stand for.
Your strongest sermon isn't always preached. It's lived out.
Your strongest sermon is your story.
It's your story.
Yeah,
it's your testimony. So
it is your story. I'm trying to win them into the kingdom by making them feel dumb and wrong. Your life as a Christian should make non-believers question their disbelief in God. I have certain struggles and issues that I've prayed for the Lord to remove for years.
Same.
And I've got and I'm a faith guy, so I'm like, I've seen people healed.
Right.
I've seen cancer removed. I've seen wild stuff happen.
Totally.
And I'm like, why do I still have this?
Here we go. Hey, we are officially at episode 20.
This is 20.
20.
Wow.
2-0.
2-0, dude.
That's right, dude.
I wonder how many podcasts ever make it to episode 20.
I don't know. But
we did.
We're here.
We're here.
And we're not stopping anytime soon.
Come on. No, we're gonna add.
That's right.
Well, not only add more episodes, but we're gonna do this stuff, more of this stuff.
Yeah.
By popular demand.
Back by popular demand. I want to actually say this on the front end because I feel like I say this on the back end a lot. But I want to say this on the front end for those of you who don't make it to the end. But yeah, we're incredibly thankful for all of you guys who have been just encouraging us and giving feedback and whatnot. Yep. We're gonna be one of the things that we are gonna be adding is monthly do episodes. It won't be like a podcast, it'll just be something we put up on our YouTube, but a questions and answers from a pastoral perspective. Also, I got the interns working on a fun video where they're putting together some they're compiling like TikToks and reels that we're going to watch together and react to in real time.
I like that.
On camera.
Okay, that's fun.
And so some other content coming your way. So we just want you guys to know about that.
Yeah.
If you have any questions that you would like for us to answer, whether they're like related to a particular sermon or not, please feel free. You can either go to our website at mywaythechurch.com, and on the media tab, there's an If I Had More Time webpage. You can enter it there, or you can just email us at info@mywaythechurch.com, or you can either email me, George, at mywaythechurch.com. And so we would love to know what you guys want to know about, so we can answer them, talk about them, discuss them in greater detail. But
get down.
Yeah,
boom.
This was an interesting weekend of
oh, bro. Yeah. Right? It's crazy.
Teaching and whatnot.
I know. Huh?
Great message this weekend.
Yeah. Ditto, bro.
It was a great message. Yeah. Thank you.
You were on Thursday.
I had Thursday.
We switched things up a little bit.
Yeah.
And then I'll be on this Thursday. And then, yeah, bro, it was it was one of those things again where I was just like, I'll just make it easy on myself. And just teach whatever I teach this Sunday on Thursday. And as I was going, I was like, there's no way. There's just no way. There's no way. I was going to try to cover like 3 chapters. Yeah. And it didn't work. So instead we did get into 22 though, I think, right? Yeah, we got into 22. We're supposed to be finished with this series, this book by the end of the year. I was looking ahead. When I was looking ahead last week, I was like, doing the math. I was like, Because we were supposed to. We're like, we'll do like a Christmas series. We'll finish up Acts and do a Christmas series.
Yeah.
It's so funny, man. Every pastor I talk to, they're like, wait, you've been in Acts all year?
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, all year. I just talked to another one this week. They're like, wait, like for real?
Yeah.
Like, but different artwork, right? No, same graphics.
Yeah, same everything.
That's what we've been doing. Yeah, so I love it, though. Man, that book is, especially, I think, for today's day and age and everything that we're going through, I think it just really, it speaks to our current culture and era.
For sure.
And, stuff that we face as Christians and as the church. I mean, they were persecuted to a much higher level.
Of course.
But it is like we can extrapolate those principles and apply them to our lives before it gets that bad.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. That's great. What if? I mean, I'm sure you want to save some of it for part 2. But what are some of the things you felt like you were navigating, having to cut, or trying to expand on deeper in this week's sermon?
Yeah, man. Well, getting into like next week, I won't get into it too heavily, but you have Paul who years ago, when he's in Macedonia, he doesn't say he's a Roman citizen. He gets beat. And that was probably more because he was trying to reach the Macedonian man, which more than likely was the jailer. So he just was like, he's in. This next week, though, he does, claim his Roman citizenship, so he doesn't get beat. He does then get before the Sanhedrin. And that's going to be an interesting thing to talk about. So I won't talk about it, I want to talk about it. So that's what I had to cut.
Sure.
And then you have another visitation of the Lord at the very end of next week, where the Lord says, now you're going to do all this stuff in Rome, which is interesting, because you cut back to 19 when he says, I feel the Holy Spirit leading me to Jerusalem. And then, and he goes, and I think I might want to see Rome in that thing.
Right.
Maybe I'll see Rome too, or something.
Yeah.
And then you have the Lord going, oh, no, that's exactly
where
you're
going to go. Yeah.
That's where you're going. I didn't talk about at the end, so I talked about sharing your testimony. And then the very next verse, once Paul shares that end part about him being, maybe I should have put myself on Do Not Disturb. So anyways,
if you're on the podcast, I feel like it's okay. If you're the crew, then it's not okay. But if you're on the podcast, you're just that important.
Oh,
you need to be reached at all times.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So anyways, once he says, he's in for the Gentiles, then the crowd kind of erupts again, and they have to pull Paul back. So it's this idea that I'll get into next week, but I do want to share about now, is we just have to trust God for the outcomes a lot of times. Paul gets warned on his way there.
Yeah.
You're going to be bound.
Right.
Agabus takes the belt, ties him up. And then we see this is exactly what happens to Paul.
Right.
He shows up, and he's immediately welcomed James, which we could get into, but a lot of people are like, no, Peter was the head of the church. But but James throughout Acts seems like he's the lead elder of the church.
Yeah.
So, so James and the elders, which are the other pastoral team there and by pastoral team, more apostolic team. We can get into words and all that stuff later, but they greet him, and they're like, cool, tell us about it. Paul had been 5 years since Paul had been there. And the last time he was there, he was just cruising through. So he's got a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
And they're excited. They're stoked. But then they also have now, it's like when you're gone from a place and then you come back home. Now we have FaceTime and all the social media. So it's not like a big catch up. But for them, so much had taken place in Jerusalem. Thousands of Jews were now Messianic Jews. And so they were either A, upset with Paul because they'd heard these rumors and believed them, or B, they'd heard the rumors, didn't believe them, and were concerned for him. So that's the you could go either way with that.
Right.
So they've heard that this is what he says. And so the apostles are like, well, and this is what I didn't really dig into too much. Well, you got to go do the purification rites, which is basically taking a Nazirite vow, which is nothing impure touches your lips, no fruit of the vine. You're basically you're showing your devotion to the Lord by your actions, by what you will eat, drink, etc.
Yeah.
And so he does this, even though he doesn't really have to do it. Which then we can get into well, is it to please people? Is it to? And he's thinking more about the greater good. He's thinking about
the most impact.
The most impact. I mean, I'm assuming
sure.
That's what it is, because he does it.
Right.
One, he's submissive to the elders, so he's submissive to his oversight.
Yeah.
Basically, and then because of that, he's going to do the vows and pay for it. So he's doing the extra proving, right? He's doing the extra proving of, hey, I really do believe that the law is fine. So he's either proving it again for the Messianic Jews, thousands of them, that are like, Paul, you better, fix this. Or he's doing it to help alleviate the tension that they're feeling for him. And again, a lot of this isn't even about Jesus so much as it is about their law and their customs.
Like how to reach them.
Yeah. So when the crowd comes after, so when the Messianic Jews don't attack Paul. That's not the crowd that comes after him.
Right.
It's the Jews from around the province of Asia, and they come after him, and then they get all the other Jews to come after him. But their main thing is he tells people not to follow the laws of Moses.
Right.
It's not even like that's the crux of it.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because it shows even at that time. There was tension between Jews and Messianic Jews, but as long as everyone's keeping the law, they're fine.
And kind of get through it.
Yeah, because like we've talked about this before in the show, but like there were different sects of Judaism. There were the Pharisees, the Sadducees, the Zealots. Like there were different. So for them, this Christianity in a lot of ways was just kind of like another thing, kind of another sect that thought the Messiah had come. So for them it was about like you're not doing the right actions, or you're telling people they don't have to do these actions anymore.
Right.
Which you see alive in Christianity today in some of these, in some parts. You have to do these things, otherwise you're not really saved.
Because my understanding is that like a lot of these different sects, especially like the Pharisees, Sadducees, Essenes, all that stuff, like they all believed in the law, but they kind of all believed, they had different differences on which they kind of thought was lesser or greater.
Yeah.
Right. And so this is more like some believe that like, okay, it comes down between the Sabbath and helping your neighbor, which one's more important, right? And they have these kind of conflicts between which of the law is most important. Whereas then now you have the Messianic Jews come in and they're like, actually, you don't need it at all because Jesus fulfilled it.
Yeah, Jesus fulfilled it.
That's a whole different
Jesus fulfilled it, but we still do it.
Right.
But we still practice it because this is what we do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then you got Paul coming in and going like, actually,
Paul comes in and says, I mean, everything's like fulfilled. You don't ultimately have to do this, but he still does it. I mean, even before this, he actually takes an Nazirite vow in Acts, I think 17 or 18, just to do it. He was like, he still was devout. There were still just things that he did because he was Jewish.
Right.
But he was a follower of Jesus, and was sent to the Gentiles. So when you think about the tension, when I read that from Corinthians, where he's like, to the Jew it became like a Jew, to those under the law, like those under the law, to those that are free. Like he goes through this whole thing. The tension of living in so many different worlds, and I think balancing that would be hard.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what it's like, dude. If you have like a birthday party. I always feel these weird tensions at these things because it's like you have friends from here and friends from there and friends, and then everyone's coming together. It's like
trying to entertain them all.
And it's not that you're a different person everywhere you go.
Sure.
It's just that you have a different, like you have your basketball team,
right?
And then you have your church staff, and then you've got your Star Wars buddies, whatever, and then everyone comes together. And you're like. For sure. This is all me, but how do I manage the tension of all of that? And Paul has to like get into it
right
when he goes into Jerusalem. I mean, he does, man. He goes and he takes the vow, and when the vow is almost up, so before his head would have been shaved, and it would have been like, oh, okay, he's really in this. That's when they jump on him with lies, deception, and he gets beat almost. I mean, like to the point of where the mob was so violent they were trying to kill him. Yeah, that's wild, bro.
Yeah, for sure.
To have people come after you so violently because you oppose, or what you stand for opposes what they stand for or want. Yeah, I mean, there's all sorts of directions we could have gone off that, but I do think it is interesting how Paul does manage. How he manages it. He's like, okay, fine. It's no big deal for me to go do this.
Right.
It's no big deal for me to go take a vow with these guys. For sure. Done. Easy. And I think sometimes we as believers, we fight things that we don't need to fight.
Yeah.
Well, well, I don't have, the Bible says, so I don't have to. Like, yeah, but would it keep the peace with some of your brothers and sisters in Christ?
Sure.
Sure.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It's interesting.
Yeah.
I'm curious from like, there was a lot of different, just interesting kind of, just themes or just kind of like things I was picking up on, like, like there's this idea of, well, you talked about this. This is one of your points. But you talked about, your strongest sermon isn't always preached. It's lived out. It's your testimony, right?
Yeah.
Like
Your strongest sermon is your story.
Is your story. It's your testimony. So
it is your story. Yeah.
I think for a lot of people, when we think about, like evangelizing or whatever the case might be, right, or being a light, like it's like, well, I'm not as good as Jeff, or I'm not, I'm not as articulate, or public speaking, and it's like, well, God calls a few people to that type of, you know what I mean? Way of reaching people. But for most of us, it's really just using your testimony, and like your most powerful, evangelistic tool is just sharing your testimony.
It's sharing your testimony. And so it's then like, I don't know if people do this anymore, but back in the day, it was like, what is your testimony? And you would even write it out.
Yeah.
You'd practice it, like who I was, what Jesus did, how I met him, and then who I am now.
Yeah, that's good.
And then I went into it just a little bit, but the who I was is usually what people focus on.
Yeah.
Which, good or bad, whatever. But I think we spend too much time there and not enough time in the who I am now. That like I've got connections, friendships, and relationships now that are because of my faith in Jesus that are way more impactful for myself, for my family, than I ever did before Jesus.
Right.
The fruit that comes from my life actually is fruit. It's not like death. And I think focusing on that is important, because we can get caught up because we know our past. And then, and we know kind of our present and our past with Jesus, but sometimes it's hard to decipher, or put it into, because we're more apt to see the negative anyways in anything that we do.
Yeah.
And so, really like kind of leaning back and going, actually, no, man. And it doesn't mean that life does not always get hunky-dory right after you give your life to Jesus. And so that was a false gospel that was preached for a long time. You want a better life. Jesus says, I've come that you would have life and have it to the full.
Right.
But that full life isn't necessarily a full life of, cars and swimming pools, and, homes and promotions. It's a full life that's inward.
Yeah.
And relational, and like we prosper that way, and we can also prosper in the other ways as well too. And I think really living out biblical principles, you can see that. But I think that was one of the things I wanted to say, and I forgot in every single service is like, if you have not done it yet, write out your testimony.
Yeah.
Just so that you kind of have it on lock, because I think that's like Paul talks about, always be ready to give an account for why you believe.
Right.
And so, well, why do I believe? Well, I believe because I lived this way. I met Jesus. I've followed him. I know him. And this is the way, and this is my life now.
Right.
So, and you can't argue that. That's my experience.
Right.
And not that you want to lean into like, well, it's my truth, but at the same time, like, this is my experience.
Right.
And man, I love it.
Yeah.
So I do think your story and understanding your story is powerful, and people need to get it, kind of get that down, because your story will relate to somebody. And I didn't share this, or I shared this very briefly, but there are parts on my testimony now that I don't share as in detail as I used to when I first, like, I would go share my testimony places at youth ministries and like outreach events and stuff like that, and tons of people could relate and to get saved and stuff. But I pulled back on some of it just because there's other people, and in today's day and age, it's easy just with a few clicks and searches and stuff to find out who those other people are. And even though it's my story to tell, it's also their story to tell, and I want to respect that.
Yeah. That's right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
Does it make sense? So But Paul, I do think it's interesting that that's what Paul chooses to share.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, because he's relating to his crowd in that moment. He's
Right.
like, you guys, I'm the same. Matter of fact, I was in that crowd. I say that in the message. I was in that crowd when Stephen was up here.
Yeah.
And I know what you're thinking. I know what you're feeling. I know. And I think we have to be more willing to step into those spaces as believers. Of when you see somebody, maybe it's addiction that's struggling and you struggle with addiction. Maybe it's self-righteousness and because you struggle with self-righteousness. Maybe it's a love of money and materialism and because that was your life before Christ. Mm-hmm. To step into those things of like, hey, look, man, I know that you love your business and you're all about like seeing it scale and seeing it grow, but I've been there before. Mm-hmm. And it leaves you wanting and empty at the end. Yeah. And the only thing that caused me to be able to operate in the marketplace well was when I surrendered everything to Jesus. Like that type of thing.
Yeah.
And so now whether I have a good quarter or a bad quarter, it doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. Like I have my trust in the Lord. Mm-hmm. Whether I have plenty or want, I don't know. Like, so I'm kind of going off on a tangent, but it is important for us to know our testimony, why we believe when we met Jesus. What was that?
Yeah. Yeah, it kind of makes me think like, kind of processing out here, but like, I think like, over the last, I would say, I don't know, maybe 10 years or so, I think the apologetics thing has become so prominent and prevalent, which I think is good. It's not, I think that's,
yes.
But I think in our like evangelistic, like that's one arrow, that's one tool.
Yeah.
That we can, you know what I mean? But I think that, especially for others who maybe aren't quite as scholastic in their understanding of whatnot, and even I think again just for reaching certain people, I think that some of the other tools, I think one of them is just a testimony.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think that like there are certain people where their barrier might be a theological or just what I mean, like it's something like they have a problem with evil or whatever. Sure. Or for some people it's just that like you look at them and what's going on in their life, and they just need hope. Yeah. And by you sharing your testimony, you can give hope of like, no, it doesn't have to be this way. Yeah. Like I've been where you are, and you don't have to do that. You don't have to live this way. You don't have to, live in despair and live in bondage. Right. And so I think that like, apologetics and arguing, having, good sound theology and being to argue people in and out of certain points is all good and well, and I think it is important. I think there are certain times where that tool is necessary.
100%.
And I think that maybe just with the rise of the apologetics community, being YouTubes and Instagrams, all different spaces, I think that we've almost maybe minimalized the power of the testimony. Yes. And it's like, it's both and sometimes again, just like having discernment and asking the Lord, like, what is needed in this moment? Is this an argument or is this a like opportunity for me to share about the goodness of God that's been reflected in my life. Yeah. And sometimes that's the best tool to use in that moment to evangelize. I
100% agree. Like, I think it has been good that apologetics has come back into play because it kind of like took a back seat for a while. I think maybe, there's like the pendulum swings. So I think it's good that it is back there, but but it's not the only thing. Right. That there has to be a personal, and maybe apologetics is a part of your testimony. Mm-hmm. Cool. I was into science, and and all of a sudden, like somebody came and was able to. But what I see too often today is we take apologetics from the standpoint of an argumentative or a debate, rather than I'm trying to win somebody into the kingdom, or I'm trying to win them into the kingdom by making them feel dumb and wrong. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
For sure.
So the interesting thing is that if you look at right now, I've talked about this before, I'm pretty sure, but if you look at like the three major movements, we've talked about this. You have the charismatic, you have the reformed, which is Bible, right? And then you have the seeker sensitive, which is just kind of like everything story and okay. Yeah. The ones that have the least amount of deconstruction or deconversions would be the charismatic side of things, because they had a personal experience that you can't tell me didn't happen. Yeah. Right?
Right.
So like you can't, and that's the thing. If you can argue somebody into the kingdom, then it's possible for them to be argued out of the kingdom as soon as a better argument comes along. Someone who's a better debater, who is incredibly good with words. And what's interesting for me even is like when I got saved, I actually just had faith. I was like, I mean, I just believe it.
Right.
I didn't have to like the earth is this old and this is, like in the Bible this is how we prove the Bible. I just believed it. And over the years I've gotten that information, which is great. But when you think about what your testimony is, and when we talk about our faith being tested, it's being proven, it's on trial in essence.
Right.
So when you think about a trial, a court case, which I think Romans is actually very much like a court case, the way it plays out.
Totally.
But when you think about a court case, if you take the stand, you're giving your testimony about whatever it is on trial.
That's good.
And if Jesus is on trial, your faith is on trial, your testimony is, man, this is who I was. I met him. I know him, all that stuff. And when you think about it, apologetics then becomes like the forensic guy that comes in and says, well, we tested the body, we saw the holes, the entry point would have been there, like does all that stuff, which then supports your testimony. Right. But your testimony is like, this is I met Jesus. Yeah. This is my life now.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's really good. One of the things I kind of was picking up on, I thought it was really cool, right? This idea of like, especially from Paul, we're seeing like this idea of like, he's beaten, bloodied, and chained, and still asking for the mic.
Yeah, bro.
And it's just like this, like super.
That's grit.
Yeah, it's like this, man. It's just this boldness.
Yeah,
it's this like unrelenting. Even like his characters being. And you could look at it in the sense of like, there's a possibility of his character, he could be feeling like, hey, my character's being assassinated right now, here, right? Being mischaracterized, and his response isn't necessarily even to look for justification for himself. It's to preach the gospel. It's to try and win more people, right?
Yep.
And it's like, what situations in your life? Because there's going to be situations when things come up, right? And it can come up in all different things, financial trials, relationship issues, whatever. Yeah. Right. And is your response in those moments to shrink back, right? Or is it to be like, no, this is actually another opportunity, another platform, another mission field to be like, let me share my testimony.
Yeah.
Right. Like,
let me lean into this time.
And I wonder how many times is it, from like a spiritual standpoint, that those seasons are actually used to shut us up when they should be used to, we should be louder.
Yeah, when your pain is a platform.
Yeah.
What's interesting, and I'm kind of curious about today is, so I was scrolling through Instagram, with like incredible purpose and intent.
Of course.
And I came across this. Whatever it is, because isn't it funny now? Like people, I barely see the people I follow on Instagram.
Yeah, for sure.
It's like, who are these other dudes in my feed? What the heck, But there's one that was talking about how, he had just lost his wife and his son, and this is his journey, and that you see other people that are like, dying of cancer, and they're like doing it like they're posting it, which I think maybe can be healthy, but it's also sometimes a little bit wild. And are you doing it for the attention, or is it to help people? Like, I don't want to question anyone's motives, but I wonder if we think about it from the standpoint of when you are going through those places of pain, to post, and to post from that standpoint of Jesus,
right?
But then you also have to be willing to be beaten at the same time.
Yeah.
Because, now they do it with comments.
Right.
So they're not punching in the face, but.
That's right.
Man, you just talked about how, you're going through the loss of your child or whatever it is. And, but you're trusting Jesus in this, or you're feeling the comfort of the Lord, and you have some Yahoo.
Yeah, for sure.
And you just.
Dude, the amount of times I'll go through comments and I'll see someone, like sometimes I'm like, how how did people turn that into like you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
something can be going through like a tragedy or whatever. I've seen especially some of these higher profile kind of things going on, and then you see how people would jump in comments and be like, "Well, you see, they're actually making it about this," and I'm like, "Whoa,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
great." You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
and so there always will be someone who will, assume the worst about you, assume the worst motives, assume the worst.
Always.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And then voice it.
Yeah.
And then voice it. And then there are always people that will co-sign that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so
Yeah.
there's no kind of like pocket of the online sphere where you're safe from someone making an assumption about you based on no facts.
Right. But that comes in that thing of like when if we're living our faith out in public, someone's going to say something somehow.
For sure.
It's going to happen.
Yeah.
And you're going to make somebody mad, and a relationship is going to be wrecked, and it might even be family, and who knows, but that's.
But I've seen like churches or organizations post about something good that they're doing, and then someone in the comments will be like, what did you do about these people?
Exactly.
And you're like, what?
What? Yeah.
Like, and not to say that those people, but like, you know what I mean? And so just like, if even by you putting your faith on display or what's going on, you're just sharing your testimony of what's going on in life, there can and might, there's always a chance that someone will use it as a chance to take a swipe at you.
Exactly.
Or, you know what I mean? Or downplay or whatever the case is. And so, by putting your life, but putting your faith on display,
and
you are opening yourself
And when
up.
you're already in a vulnerable place, and that's hard. I think there's a part that I see two sides of it. One is like, man, some of us need to toughen up. And then there's the other side of like, yeah, that's gotta hurt, man.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And any time you're going to live a public life, at least, that stuff's going to come. That stuff's going to happen.
Right.
You're going to, yeah.
It is interesting. It's interesting dynamic because I can see the both sides of like, well, toughen up and just, be on display for Jesus. But also there is a part of me, again, I made this joke on my Thursday night sermon, but there's a phrase Black people use like, man, mind your own business.
Yeah.
And so sometimes I'm like, man, people putting their business out there.
Yeah, dude.
And so I'm like, there's a part of me that goes, well, maybe you just, maybe you're putting too much of your life out there, right? On social media and things of those platforms. But I do think, to go back to your kind of essential point of your message about your testimony, right, is like, I think there's a way for you to live your like what you're saying, to share a testimony without every painstaking detail being out there, and you know what I mean, and overstepping boundaries or whatever the case might be. So I think there's a way for you to do both. But I also think that if the enemy can get us to not speak and share about our testimony, I think that the enemy is winning.
Yes.
And so I think there can be a middle ground of like, I think there can be a middle ground of like, you as a person, if someone in your neighborhood, your coworkers or whatever, like they should know, like, you know what I mean? Like, you've asked me before, like, again, to me, it's like the kind of the whole film thing of like, no, I don't think every project or film or, video I make has to be The Chosen. For people to know I'm this Christian filmmaker, I'm trying to be Dallas Jenkins 2.0. I don't feel that burden, but I also feel like, if someone comes across me and, they're following me for 6 months and then all of a sudden they're like, wow, George, I didn't know you were a Christian.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I probably failed.
You failed. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it's like, there's a balance there of like, again, I think you don't have to every day you walk into your office and be like, here's a gospel tract and I invite you to church every single Sunday. I don't think that has to be the thing. But I also think that like, if you've been working for a spot for a few months or whatever, and people are shocked you go to church or shocked you're a believer, it's like, oh yeah, there's a balance there. Yeah. And so people should know. But that Bonhoeffer quote that you had, right, was incredible.
Yeah.
Living your life in such of a way.
Yeah.
That it.
Let me pull it up because that was dope.
But I think in a way it kind of speaks to that same idea, right? It's like.
Yeah, your life as a Christian should make non-believers question their disbelief in God.
Right.
Yeah.
So your life should be in such of a way that the people around you are impacted.
Yeah.
And they know it's not like, oh, he was a nice guy, but it's like, no, he believes in Jesus and there's something different.
And to highlight that, because for the longest time, what was kind of was propagated was, they know that because you don't go to the bar with them.
Yeah.
Something's different
Right.
about you. I
Right.
don't think I've ever heard you say a swear word.
Right.
You must, like you smile a lot. You
Yeah,
must.
yeah.
What's different? And it's that thing of like too many times people. It's like people will know that I love Jesus by what I don't do, and it's like no, it's by what you do. It's
Right.
because you said you're going to pray for them, and then you checked up and said, "Hey, I've been praying for you," and they're like, "Who are you even praying to?"
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that's good.
Or it's the you're the one who notices the coworker that is having a hard time during the holidays and says, "Hey, why don't you come over to my house?" It's offering the hospitality. It's doing the things that Jesus would do.
Right.
And that's our witness.
Yeah.
It's not so much that like, well, everyone at the party was wasted and I wasn't,
Yeah.
Which that does stand out. That's
sure.
good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
It is I noticed that anytime we start talking about coworkers, you walk away.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the stuff that's like people are noticing. It's like you don't talk bad about people. So there are the don'ts in there,
Right.
But that can't be like your
The
only
only-
witness.
yeah, that's
like,
good.
It's the man. Not only does he not participate in gossip, but he also
Look at the way he actually talks
but the way
about
he actually
people.
talks about people,
Right.
Is man. He's up for the same position, and he's telling us why that other guy is really gifted for it. My good friend of mine, I'm gonna brag on him right now. He probably won't listen to this, but Josh Downing, known him since we were like 11 years old, and man, have gone through thick and thin, roommates, not roommates, the whole thing. Like, but he's a firefighter, and man, shout out to all of our first responders, and
Absolutely.
what you guys do for us is absolutely amazing. The stuff that you guys see, that you hold, that you have to do is, but so he just made captain. But he was taking this test, and I'm gonna blur this and I'm gonna say this right, but he's taking a test to get to like the next level, I think. But they had one spot open and it was for captain. He got it, but he was like, he was telling us we Marco Polo, so he's like, but there's like 3 other guys doing it. He goes, and they're all really great guys.
Yeah.
They're all really smart. They're brilliant. They've been in this, a long time too. Da 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 da. And I just thought, like, man, how awesome that that's his character, that he's in competition with 3 other people.
Right.
But his response is, all of these other guys are like, man, they could have it too. Not like, Jim's a little weird and I don't think that he should get it because, I mean, really, I've seen him, like, shirk on his duties or whatever. You're like, no, he's about it.
Yeah.
Like, it's just crazy to think, man. If we as Christians understood, this is not completely different, but if we as Christians understood the power that we have via the Holy Spirit, the contentment that we could possess, we could truly be meek, which is basically meekness is just strength under control. I think that we would live and react and respond differently if we really felt like the promotion was in the Lord's hands and we were faithful to do our work as unto the Lord. I think that we might just be a little bit more happy for everybody else if we didn't get it.
Yeah.
I think that like my favorite athletes and my action movies are the ones where my favorite athletes are the ones that are just quiet and crush. Mm-hmm. They don't got to say a lot.
Right.
They just walk on the court and they do it, or they walk on the field and they do it.
Totally.
And then, they're like, we had good opponents today. I love those guys. Or it's the dudes like the Jason Bournes that like, he's just some guy walking around, but he could like snap your neck. And but he doesn't have to go around saying it, or whatnot.
Yeah.
So I think having that quiet confidence or that assurance of like Paul was so dead to himself. He's like, I don't care.
Right.
Like I'm gonna tell you guys about Jesus because you need to hear this right now. And if you break down his testimony, and this is something that we didn't have time for, but because he begins to relate to them, right? So he speaks in Aramaic, which is a Semitic, Semitic language.
Yeah.
Which is again like now everyone's going to tune in.
Yeah.
Like, all right. And then they already know he is anyways, but he's like giving effort, right? And then he goes into like, I'm a Jew. I was born in Cilicia, Tarsus, Cilicia, but I was raised here. It's a relational point. Like,
Right.
I've walked these streets. And then to get into, and I studied under, I was a Pharisee, and I studied under Gamaliel, and you guys know of him. And so like everyone's probably like tuned in right now. But then he doesn't sugarcoat himself. He's like, and man, I persecuted this thing that I'm a part of now. Like, he's honest about his past. It's like, man, I did, and I signed off on people's deaths, like stuff that I'm not proud of.
Right.
You know, and the very thing that like you guys are trying to do right now, think about this, because I've done it.
Wow.
And you have to, like, I live with, like, he lives with every day knowing that he watched Stephen. Right?
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Like, he says, I was here when Stephen was stoned. And that's even how he starts his thing, fathers and brothers. And I know that Paul probably didn't struggle with guilt because he really lives free, but it's those things of knowing, man, this is what I've done. And I'm going to be honest about this right now, because I'm about to tell you that in spite of all of that, in spite of all my self-righteousness, in spite of my heritage, in spite of who I killed and what I did, Jesus still met me on the road to Damascus.
Yeah.
And forgave me.
Yeah.
And gave me purpose. That's how good this God is. And he has them up until he says Gentile. So
yeah. Which is, yeah, again, to me, it's kind of that kind of one of the last major points. I just like this idea of like chaos reveals character, and but Jesus can rewrite yours, and it's like this idea of like, you know, you see it. It is Paul's testimony, right, and even in this moment, it's like you almost kind of see like the transformation in Paul. You get to see it here in this moment.
Yeah.
Right. Because easily this could have been a moment where he could have leaned on what he, you know, his upbringing, what he knew, and all that different stuff.
Self-preservation, whatever it was. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. But instead he leans into, again, this is an opportunity for me to point to Jesus.
Yep.
Point to what he's done in my life.
Yeah.
And it's like the full circle moment with Paul. You go, man, yeah, he is really about it.
Yeah.
In this moment, you see that this is a fully transformed life.
Yes.
And the only person that can do that is Jesus.
The only person. And it's allowing Jesus to do it in you. Because I think there are certain things that we could hold on to. His pedigree's wild.
Top notch.
Yeah, dude. And, you know, like Hebrews, like he lines it out one time. He says, I'm being a fool by doing this, but just to let you guys know,
right, this
is what I consider garbage now.
Yeah.
But I think there's so much of us that still want to hold on to certain aspects of that. So like certain aspects of our past
prestige.
Testimony that we still like to, like it is our prestige.
Yeah.
And if you think about this, if we think about it from this standpoint, if the gospel really invades every area of our life, I'm incredibly competitive. We're just going to get real practical here, folks. I'm incredibly competitive. And we were just with a couple out in the desert for a little while, and for a couple days, just a couple months ago, and we're having a great time, and it was awesome. But I start getting kind of snarky and a little bit jabby when we were playing some card games, and because I want to win, you know.
Yeah.
And it's not bad. 'Cause I'm not saying like you can't have fun when you play games, but but it starts getting down to like kind of a competitive thing. And all of a sudden, I'm like talking trash about a freaking card game, and I might be hurting people's feelings. I don't think I hurt their feelings, but like old Jeff, even old Save Jeff is. I think it's George Coltrane on the basketball court.
That's right.
That's probably one area you need to get saved.
That's
right,
dude.
Well, you know what I mean.
Yeah,
like
for
that's
sure.
like our witnesses everywhere, and I think there are certain aspects that where. Even in my life, I joke about, driving, like I don't put anything Christian on my car because I'm not saved there yet, but I really should be. I should be the most patient man on that road.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
For sure.
You should or even, I remember one time I was playing, it was a high school baseball game, and I think I was either playing shortstop or second base, and the guy just like cranked one on the opposite team, right? like home run, and it was a great shot.
Right.
It was a nice shot. It's like, he got around the base. I was like, that's a great hit, man. And my buddy, I think it was Robbie Stiles. He goes, "You don't say that."
Yeah.
like I was some goober, you know?
Yeah.
But like,
Yeah.
but really, like,
Shape up, dog.
shape up.
Yeah. We in the game.
Oh,
man.
in the game, we in the game. But you know, I was just kind of thinking on that of like what if on whatever, you know, on the pickleball court or whatever, everyone plays pickleball now. What if you're just incredibly complimentary and kind
Yeah.
to those, you know, on the other teams, as opposed to you're the biggest dickhead. This is probably why I shouldn't play pickleball. It's also because of my knee. But man, I used to berate people when I played tennis. I was mean.
Yeah.
I wasn't saved then, but also like I was just mean.
Yeah.
What, like,
For sure.
so you're gonna do that, and then people, or you're gonna whatever your hobby is, whatever you're at, and then you're gonna be like, oh, praise the Lord, come to church with me.
Right.
I mean, it's because we're in Oceanside. I remember talking to this one guy in the water, and when you drop in on somebody, it's a no-no.
Right.
When they continually drop in on you or they're wave hogs, then there's some etiquette things you can get away with some stuff. But I remember having this conversation with this guy, and he's like, "Yeah, man, praise the Lord, he's loving Jesus, all this different stuff." And then he got dropped in on one time. Easy thing to say is, "Hey, no worries, all good. Just, you know, watch out next time." That guy just lost his mind. Cussed the dude out, the whole thing, and was like splashing water at him and the whole thing. I was like, "Bro, we just talked about praising the Lord in church."
Yeah.
You know, it's people flipping people off, getting out of the parking lot, you know,
Right,
all this,
right.
like all that, you know, the church parking lot, I should say. But I think we need to get saved in more areas than just.
I mean, it's really, we don't talk about it a lot anymore. Church, at least it's not a phrase we use a lot as much in church anymore. But it really is. It's the idea of sanctification, and so it's like I think sometimes too, there's so much emphasis on maybe getting saved or getting baptized or showing up to church, and it's like that's like we make that be everything. But it's like, but no, but there is a refining process.
Yeah.
There's a process of sanctification. You know, just really, you're being made more like Christ.
Yes.
So there are certain areas where that might be really easy, and there's certain areas that might be much harder.
Yeah.
And so, are you, especially as you're growing, becoming more mature of a believer? I don't think maturity has anything to do with how much you know about the Bible,
Right.
But it has more to do with, are you allowing the Lord? Are you allowing the Holy Spirit? I think of it often like almost like a what are those the sandpaper brushes or those coarse rocks.
Yeah.
But it's him refining you down,
Yeah.
smoothing out these edges and these areas where it is my flesh is stronger here.
Yeah.
My flesh is, you know, it has a certain bend. And are you allowing the Holy Spirit to refine you, to sanctify you, to make you more like God and more like Christ? And so these areas where I would lash out in anger, or I would think certain thoughts or act a certain way or behave a certain way. It's not this, well, I made it to church. It's like, well, no, I've surrendered this area of my life to the Lord. And actually it's funny because I really want to do a series in young adults about surrender.
I'm teaching there on Tuesday. Are we going to some sort of series? Am I supposed to talk
We're
about
doing it's fruits of the Spirit. We're doing Galatians 5 right now, but
okay.
Yeah. But yeah, this idea of surrender, right? This idea of like letting the Lord, and again, I think surrender, right? Again, we surrender our life to Christ and we pray the salvation's prayer. Okay, but you're not done.
Right.
It is a every day I'm picking up my cross daily, and I'm allowing the Lord to refine me.
Yeah, bro.
In the areas,
Come on.
it's for me, like an issue, like, okay, practical, like for me, again, because I've been around church my whole life and certain things, there's certain things that's like, it's not really a sacrifice for me to do that. And I just kind of, that's not something that I fight with the Lord with, or, you know what I mean? Or whatever the case. But there are certain areas though where it's like, I really don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Those areas where sanctification is all the more necessary.
Yep.
And I think it's funny, because I think those are the areas too where, especially over time, when people see me, they go, wow, that is different about you.
Yeah.
Because I know you. I know, you know what I mean? Like the way you talk, the way you act, it's like, oh, wow. It's like, yeah, because that's where the Lord has had to sanctify and work and refine me the most. Again, I almost kind of wanted that with Paul right there in this moment where you're getting to really see, while he's not leaning on his pedigree in these areas, he's not, operating through fleshly power, fleshly ambition, but it's it's focuses on Christ, right? Because it's been sanctified there.
Yeah.
And so, I just think that like I think that's something that we need to talk way more about, is this idea of, it's not about just showing up to church or, kind of doing these, I don't want to say bare minimums, but these, these things that are kind of easily celebrated, but it's, are you allowing the Lord to work in the areas of your life that need that sanctification, in the areas that you probably go, well, I don't really want to do that. Or do I have to? Or why do I have it? And it's like, those are probably the areas that you need the sanctification the most.
And you got to be honest about it.
You got to be honest about it.
You got to be honest about it and let them work.
And surrender.
And that's where it gets really hard, especially if that's a part that really feeds our flesh or that we do like, or
especially if you're like talented in it too, or if you're, you know what I mean? Like again, you think about Paul, he's been so talented in this area. And it's like, that's the area he had to surrender I'm sure, it's not in scripture, but I'm sure that's the area he had to surrender the most, because it's like, probably didn't need the Lord as much. You know, it's like, I could have operated without it. And it's like, no, it's the area that had to surrender the most. And so sometimes it can be like a big sin issue.
It can be.
And sometimes it can be a thing that's like, but I'm actually really good and talented this on my own. It's like, that's the area that you probably need to surrender the most.
Paul has a couple of different things that I think are really interesting that in Romans, he talks about like really that battle with sin. Not that I believe was like battling massive sins, but he's like, I do the things I don't want to do and don't do the things I want to do. It's one of the most confusing chapters.
Right.
But basically it comes down to who's going to save me from this, sinful body, Jesus, ultimately, right?
Yeah.
And then he also talks in other parts, I think it's Corinthians, but he talks about the thorn in his flesh. And he's got this thorn in his flesh, and he prayed that the Lord would take it, and the Lord didn't.
Yeah.
And there are some things I think, like, I have certain struggles and issues that I've prayed for the Lord to remove for years.
Same.
And I've got and I'm a faith guy, so I'm like, I've seen people healed.
Right.
I've seen cancer removed. I've seen wild stuff happen.
Totally.
And I'm like, why do I still have this? And I think it's because if you didn't, you would become so prideful. You would become so independent.
Right.
Because that is a gift there.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting in some of my strongest gifts, I actually have like some thorns that I constantly battle with, because I think if I didn't have those thorns, then I'll just be, I don't know who I would be in that, if that makes sense.
For sure. No,
and the Lord in his sovereignty understands and knows where I would go or whatnot. And so he's like, I think I think we're going to keep you from being a marathon runner. We'll keep that knee hurt, or whatever it is. But we do have to live. We have to, I believe it's Peter that writes this, but live such good lives among the pagans that though they see your good deeds, they're still going to talk trash about you, but they will glorify your Father in heaven on the day he arrives. So it's the thing of if people are going to talk about you, they're going to talk about you.
Right.
But but whatever they talk about, let it be so not you.
Right.
That like if someone came up to me and said something about you, and it came to like being a husband or a dad that was so off the, I'd be like, no.
Right.
I know that guy like through and through. There's no way. Yeah. Right. Like that's the stuff that we would want. And if there's any area where somebody could say something and you would have to go, oh, I didn't do that, but it kind of seems like you might have.
Yeah.
Then that's the area you go, man, Lord, sanctify me.
Right.
Oof. Get this cleaned up.
That's good. I think, again, I want to highlight this kind of as we wind down, just because, not everyone who watches this podcast, I think, is physically here. I mean, maybe see things going on the weekend, but I just think it was incredible. We had honestly, I was in charge of counting. It was,
it was crazy, right?
But, somewhere in the range of, 45, 46. And honestly, I know I missed some hands, and especially in the 11:30 service. And that was just Sunday.
Salvations
of people who gave their lives to Christ. And I think that like the idea, you shared your testimony at those morning services, which is powerful. But just the idea of like that God still is calling men and women unto him.
Yeah.
And that when we share our testimony, we've been talking so much in our staff and our executive team about the harvest being plentiful, right? But this idea that if the harvest is plentiful, like what are we as workers doing to cultivate the harvest, right?
Yeah.
And as a church, it's our job to disciple them and things of that nature. But like, again, as believers, as people watching this podcast, like your testimony is so powerful, because if you share your testimony, there's so much potential for people being impacted by that and wanting to experience the same God that you talk about. Yeah. And so like, it was incredible this weekend just to see, people, raising their hands and making that decision, making that commitment. And I think something just, again, it's to celebrate that's happening in the life of our church, right? Like last weekend we had 43.
Yeah, we put 41, but Michaela came back and was like, actually, there was a separate list.
43 baptisms. And then the following weekend, 46
salvations.
More salvations. And again, that just comes from, obviously we as a church, we've done, we're doing a lot too. But like, again, you sharing your testimony in service, having that impact on people, and people being moved to, raise their hand and to pray that prayer. I think that's just like a glimpse of what people can see in their everyday life. Yes. And I think that's why, like, it's important for us. I think we should celebrate what happened on stage this weekend, and we should celebrate that more. And I think it's easy to celebrate that as like as a church, but it's like individually in your own life. You should be seeing that happen. It doesn't have to be 46 people for it to be impactful. No, but that coworker that sits next to you in your cubicle, or your brother-in-law, your sister-in-law, your neighbor, your classmate, like you sharing your testimony with them and seeing them show up to church and raise their hand, or you know what I mean, be curious, start asking you about that's so powerful. So powerful. And I think that like we need to exemplify what we saw this weekend in church. I think we need to exemplify in our everyday lives.
I agree. Yeah, I agree, man, for sure. Yeah, that's huge. Having just those conversations, and there was a question that was asked at our welcome home party, which is after you go through first steps and then next steps, we do a gathering where we feed you, and Aaron and I talk a little bit, but we just get to know people that are newer to the church. That was awesome to get to know, talk to so many people. But at that thing, I gave a couple of Q&As, and one guy asked about evangelism, like, what do we think about evangelism as an event and whatnot? And I'm like, yeah, for sure, but it's more of it's that lifestyle. Yeah. It's we can't think, we only evangelize at this time on this day, or we only evangelize if it's at this event. Mm-hmm. It's in every day. It's Jesus says, as you go, make disciples. It's as you go, everyday life. Yeah. It's out of your normal. It's 3 or 4 weeks ago when I talked about Paul and the aprons and the rags, like that was just out of his overflow of life of building tents and hanging out. Like as you go, you're talking about, if the Lord is important to you, you talk about him. And if you talk about him, then you can testify. Right. But it's that.
I mean, in reality, like you are evangelizing at all times either way.
Yes. Yeah.
And so you're either evangelizing and your life is saying, come and see. Mm-hmm. Or again, to our point earlier, your life is evangelizing, and people, when they do find out or hear that you are a believer, they're going, wait, what? Yeah. And so you are evangelizing either way. Yeah. And so it's like, again, as people being full of the Holy Spirit, I think like we need to be utilizing that, and then again sharing our testimony, being very like intentional about it when those moments come. Yeah. And I think there's not much sweeter things in your life, having someone in your life, if it's a friend, again, a coworker, whatever, and knowing that God has used you for their story and for their salvation. There's people in my life that I know. Again, it's God who does the who does the saving, and He draws people into them, and He waters, and He makes it grow. Right. But there's people in my life that I know are in church and have made that step because of my influence in their life, and like there's there's nothing sweeter, you know. And so like to get to experience that as a person,
it's huge.
You know, is
like, think about how many of the people that raise their hands, like how many like people did they interact with to get them to this point?
For sure. Yeah.
Like, they heard so-and-so's testimony, or
Yeah.
they were invited to church here, or they were, this there,
Yeah.
whatever it is. And then all of a sudden they're like, all right.
You know, what's one of my favorite things, and I don't know if this is wrong to say or not, because you say during the salvation call, you say, everyone close your eyes. I have my eyes open because I'm on staff and I'm counting. But like when like someone's sitting with someone and they raise their hand, and you can tell the person next to them is maybe someone, the parent or someone that's brought them, and they just will like reach over and grab their hands, or they just smile because they're like, the person I've been bringing or praying. You know what I mean?
Oh,
like
yeah, dude.
when you see that moment, it's like, oh man,
It's
because
beautiful.
But usually behind someone showing up and raising their hand, there's someone that's been praying for them, inviting them.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like whether it's a parent, brother, sister, friend, whatever, there's someone that has been praying for that moment for a long time. So when you see that person, they're peeking and they're going, you're like, pumped. Yeah, man. Yeah, that's it.
It's so good.
That's it right there.
It's so good.
So
I love it.
It's awesome. Well, hey, thank you so much for hanging on to the end. Hey, this will be. Go ahead and type or comment the word 20, just because we've made it.
20.
We're a milestone.
Let's go.
Comment the word 20, not the number 20. The number 20. The word 20.
Not the number 20.
Not the number
the
20.
Word 20.
The word 20 in the
20.
comment section.
Let's go.
For those of you who are listening on the podcast, thanks for tuning in.
Yeah.
Do us a favor. If this podcast bless you, copy the link, share it to someone. Say, hey, I think this would bless you as well too.
Can they rate it? Is there a place to rate it?
Yeah, on our on both of our Spotify and Apple podcasts, you can rate and review the podcast. We would greatly encourage if you did that. Again, if you're a YouTube watcher, make sure to subscribe and like it. It also does help this video reach more people, and we're seeing tremendous growth on both of those platforms. Actually, I will say this, just a little competition here because I'm a competitive person too.
Okay.
Not last week, the weekend before, 2 episodes ago was the first episode ever that our Spotify listeners outpaced our YouTube watchers.
Oh, wow.
And that was just Spotify. It wasn't even podcast as whole, just a Spotify.
But just Spotify.
So
wow.
That's the only time it's ever happened, but just so you know. But man, we love all of our communities that are watching. Thank you so much for doing so. If you want to support the channel, support this podcast and other shows that we're bringing to you guys in the future, you can do that. You go to our website, myreverendchurch.com. There should be a link to give. You can help support financially what we're doing here. Again, sharing it with other people is a big way to also support what we're doing here. And we're thankful for all of you who are tuning in and watching. And we'll see you guys next week on If I Had More Time.
Peace.